Saturday afternoon, finally made it into the shop. Had a long morning doing some editing and stuff on that 650 video. The previous one with the front end changes and all the geometry stuff came out here, refilmed some things, went in, edited that, uploading now. Anyway, today tomorrow, whatever, gonna be tearing apart the Airbox and everything up top here to get to it to install these velocity stacks. So I found these on Hardcore Sledder a while ago. I think it was actually this time last year. I found these on there in the for sale section. I hadn't seen these for any of the 6 or 850 stuff before, but I liked the theory of them and what they're supposed to do. I do know where these came from, and I do know who originally put this together. However, I don't think it's a common thing that he does, so I don't want to put that guy's information on blast. I will tell you, this is part of a different Moto Tassinari or V-Force kit. So I know you can probably get the stack portion itself if you called them. However, I'm not positive. I mean, there's a part number on here. I don't know the length of this exactly. I could measure it, but in terms of like calling them and saying, hey, I need whatever stack, I don't think that will help you, because I believe this aluminum piece here is custom, somewhat one-off machine for these. Again, I know where it came from, but I'm not gonna put that guy on blast and have all kinds of people reaching out to him. So unfortunately, I don't know how readily available anyone will be able to get these or duplicate this. However, I'm still gonna go ahead and do it and document it and let everyone know that this is a somewhat possibility if you have the wherewithal to go ahead and try to figure this out. I gave you a little bit of information, so you might be able to put it together from there if you wanna go this way. I'm gonna go ahead and dig right into this thing and start yanking it apart. I'll try to stop time-lapse stuff like I normally do and explain the difficult or tricky parts that I encounter. I know getting the Airbox out sucks. When I get to that point, I'll probably do it instead of a time-lapse, just an on-running video, so you can see how I position and move and wiggle and get that Airbox out of there. And then at that point, I will go and touch on a brief overview of the theory behind the velocity stacks. That way you guys kind of have an idea of the theory behind the velocity stacks and why I'm putting them into this thing and not something else, or just why I'm even bothering to begin with. I think it's a cool little nerdy thing that may make a difference, might not even be noticeable, but either way, we're gonna go for it and continue rolling with this kind of out of the box content and see where it gets us. Once you get to the point where you got the cowl pretty much all off-ish, I like to go ahead and pull the recoil out quite a ways, and then these soft jaw, like brake line squeezer jobbies, they just hold pressure. I usually put those in there, clamp the cord. They're not gonna cut it or anything like that. You can see they're smooth, rounded jaw, and that just keeps your recoil from going back in. I'm not taking the handle off. I'm just getting myself excess length on that so that I can move this whole cowl and let it kind of dangle down here. That way it's out of the way for the most part. And I don't have to mess with the recoil knot or any of that stuff. All right, I'm hopping back over to this side. I'm gonna disconnect the battery. I don't know if I'm gonna need to or not, but I'm gonna pull this unit out and I'm just gonna unplug it as I do, but I wanna have the battery disconnected and all that, so there's no electrical charge or discharge. Should keep it from having any engine lights or anything goofy of that sort. And then we're gonna keep going, pulling things apart one by one till we can get the box out. And this is gonna be good practice because I gotta do a couple of the boost intake manifolds coming up soon, so get started and get familiar with it again. Done a couple in the past, pulling the airboxes out on Axis chassis and stuff like that. So it's just a good little refresher getting in here, doing my own sled before I go on to a customer one again. You might see me use this a few times for popping out the Christmas tree type clips, we call them. So these guys here, you get this number behind that and you pry out. There's one here, let me try and hold this and not drop it and get it all messed up. One that goes in up here somewhere. There we go. So there's this one right here that goes into the airbox. So if you pry on the airbox with just this, you may crack it. So I take a putty knife, put it behind this when you insert that, and that gives you, it spreads the load out across this plate and across the airbox instead of just the back of this tool. So. If you got to this point, congrats, you did it, or whatever. A lot of stuff has to come off, but fortunately, these are relatively straightforward to work on. It's kind of like you see a connector, you undo it, you see a bolt, you undo it, you can keep going. They're not really that bad. I mean, obviously this is involved and it's probably gonna seem very daunting to a lot of people, but if you take your time and if it's your first time going through it and you are gonna tackle this project, just label where stuff came from. I use these little old electrical tape connectors, or not connectors, containers. You could put a piece of tape to label it or whatever, but I'm gonna do this tonight and tomorrow, so I don't really need to label that. I should be able to remember where it all goes. So yeah, if you get to this point, there's not a whole lot left to do other than move the oil tank and the belt guard, and then you should be able to start fishing that whole airbox out of there. I figure most people would say to just remove the oil tank, but I don't have any air bubbles in my line and I'm gonna try to keep it that way. So I've got a bunch of stuff ready here and handy. I'm gonna go ahead and take the two back, or shut up. Take the two nuts off of here, pull the tray out, and then try to mount or hold the container on top of the primary somewhere. I'll stack some wood up or a bungee cord or whatever I gotta do to try and get this angled over here and positioned to where I don't need to undo the main feed line. Well, joke's on me. So this is one thing to be careful of. You can see the end of the hose here is dyed pretty well. I saw that because the hose doesn't leave you much room unless you really push it back down in there. And luckily when I moved the tank, it gave it a little bit more free play and I was able to move this hose more, and I saw where the discoloration changed and that it was indeed an air bubble up here. So I don't know exactly how far down my bubble was because of this sleeve, but it was definitely substantial. Oh, no, let's not lose what we have in there, that's good. So I know a little bit, a tiny little bit right here dribbled out when I pulled the tank off, which it could have been from the tank before I got my thumb over the end. But either way, that's huge. So I actually am really glad that I pulled this apart enough to get to this point to see this, because otherwise if I just moved the hose back a little bit, I would have seen the discoloration and thought that was just the same oil in there and not really noticed that airline. Like I said, I didn't think that there was a bubble in this, but there really was. So everyone definitely, I know it's been mentioned a ton on the forums and some on the Facebook posts. Check these for an air bubble because that will limit your oil flow down to the pump, and if you get air in the pump, it can cavitate and then that could take out the bottom end, or who knows what, right? It could be any number of big major issues if you have oil starvation. So now that that's all out of here, we got these two, oh, it's a bright light. We got the two clampies right there, and then the fun part of finagling that whole thing out of there. Anyway, the velocity stack is gonna end up going inside the airbox here and extending the length of this intake runner. Come on. That might be good enough. Okay, see that little gap right there between the throttle body and the rubber surround? Ooh, there we go. That is where that aluminum ring is gonna get sandwiched in between, which will then house that velocity stack runner. All right, now for the fun part. Watch me try and get this box out of here. Both clamps are loose. Just start moving it around. Do a little wiggle worm. Oh, that's gonna be really fun. Oh, this is gonna be really fun on a boost. Yikes. Oh. Man, that coolant hose really does dick you. See this. Okay, that didn't move at all. That's great. All right, I shut this off and I got on a little bit of a roll. basically what I did was there's a little sensor for, I'm assuming it's fuel pressure over here, really weird, ancient looking sensor. Unplug that, move the fuel lines past this to give you a little bit more wiggle room there. And then I reached in from the front and moved the main coolant line towards the engine, which allowed the intake boot to get up and above it. Get in here. Do a little one of these numbers, push that over there. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. When you're putting this hog, this thing is awkward as hell to hold on to one-handed. In through here, this mag side, this guy, is the difficult one because you have to get it over the top of this snarl, down here over the top of this one, and then seated in. Like I said previously, I'm not sure how I'm gonna cut this in and out, but basically you have to undo this electrical sensor here, which is a fuel pressure sensor. I'm assuming this weird ass old ancient looking diaphragm style thing. Move these lines on this side of your down bar. I did undo the two 8mm bolts for the coolant reservoir, even though it doesn't really go anywhere. It might have given it just a little bit more room to move this hose around. And then, yeah, you kind of take the box, tilt it this way, pivot it up, over, and then out like that. Hopefully the video will be good enough that you can see that and how I did it going in and out. I know there's a couple steps that I missed with the GoPro footage. You missed just unplugging this and moving the fuel lines over, which isn't too big of a deal. Anyway, the box is out. I'm gonna go and get the velocity stacks and we'll talk about that a little bit and put them in here. All right, here's our stock Airbox. Here's one of the velocity stacks. They're going to sit in the Airbox this way. They're two pieces. As stated before, the aluminum ring gets pressed into here. This blunt edge will sit up against the aluminum throttle body. And then this I'll have to fish down in and attach back on. This will all get glued into there. The purpose of a velocity stack is to essentially alter your airflow. I may end up needing to retune this thing, but since I don't really intend on riding it in a manner that is going to have me sitting in that partial throttle lean spot, you know, for EPA reasons and fuel mileage, I'm not going to be in that zone very often. It's going to kind of be a lot more of like a throttle jockey type sled where it's on off throttle all the time. It's going to be clutched aggressively. It's just not going to be a cruiser sled where I'm really concerned with that lean spot that these are known to somewhat have. That said, it may end up needing a retune. We'll find out if I get this and I run it and it turns into a detonation machine. I can always yank these back out. It's really not that bad to get in here and do this. But anyway, enough with that. The purpose of a velocity stack, like I said, is to kind of alter your airflow. Quickly and simply, the longer your runner inside your plenum or the longer your velocity stack, the more torque you're going to make down low in the power band. The opposite is shorter is going to give you more power up high in the RPM range. So with this being a little 650, I'm trying to get everything I can in that lower mid RPM range to where it kind of has a little bit more grunt down there to help get it up in the higher RPM where it likes to be. Like I said, it may need to be retuned. We'll find out. But the other bonus of these is creating that longer runner. This radius here is going to allow the air to come in nice and smooth and kind of fill this entire zone. If you have a blunt edge, what ends up happening is the air wraps around the corner and it creates a low pressure zone just past that corner. And then you don't end up filling this entire void full of air. I'll pull up a couple images of that. There's pictures with arrows and bendy corners and stuff so you can see it a little bit better. But yeah, anyway, that's the quick and dirty of these things. Try and help get a little bit more power down low. They also are supposed to make everything, you know, on older carbureted cars or even, you know, like BMW M series cars, right? M3s, M5s, they have ITBs. So they have independent throttle bodies, even though they're EFI, they have independent throttle bodies with trumpets off of them inside the plenum, and that's part of why they sound so cool up in the higher RPM ranges. So these may help this thing sound a little bit better. That I don't know yet, but either way, it's always a test. It's always kind of going to be the old eye doctor deal there. Is it what's better, one or two? Is it, you know, better or about the same? Not going to know till I get it out there. So I'm going to go on putting these in. If they're terrible and it does turn into a detonation machine, I can either get a tune for it or I can just pull it apart and hang them back out. Not too concerned with it, but anyway, gonna get to putting these things in. I'm gonna wrap this whole intake box here with reflective heat tape too, try and help keep intake air temps down as much as I can. Like, you know, a lot of this stuff is just small little gains here and there that hopefully add up to a big picture gain. Any one of these things I don't think is gonna be anything night and day different, but I'm bored. I like playing with stuff. Yeah, hopefully it's fun to watch along and see how it goes. Sunday midday. What time is it actually? Jeez, it's 1:30. Lazy Sunday. Took the morning, you know, got the coffee going, did some editing stuff. Got the first half of this video done. So now, once this is done, I should have this one up pretty quick. Airbox set up overnight. The velocity stacks should be, oh yeah, they're pretty solid in there now. So they're glued up. Going to go ahead and then work on stuffing the box back into there. All cattywampus, you know the deal. And yeah, button it up, fire it up, see how it sounds, and pretty much all we can do until we get some snow. The only thing I found that made getting the box in easier than than everything else we took out was this wire here that runs to the back. It has a zip tie that holds it right here. In its stock location, zip tied here, it doesn't leave you much room in this corner to pull the airbox back and up to get the bottom of the boot onto the throttle body. So just by getting this extra little 3/8 half an inch right here, really helps to tilt the box to get it low enough to then get the boot onto the actual throttle body itself. So that's the only other little tip I found putting it back in that helped. Rear seat holder jobby. Let's focus up. There you go. You can see the nut deformed this one, and this one actually pulled all the way through, and that was allowing this to kind of rock around a little bit back here and give the seat some extra wiggle. So we're going back together. I'm adding some stainless washers to each point because I'm a nerd, and that'll keep those from pulling through this time and should make the seat a little bit more secure. On the protective sleeve for the oil feed line, I ended up cutting about 3/4 of an inch off the end of it here. You can see a mark, maybe, where it rubs on the clutch protector guard oil tank support thing just a little bit. So I didn't go beyond that, you know, I didn't even go to it. We got a little bit of space there. And then I also split the top open so that I can kind of pry it open a little bit once it's on there and check on it every now and then. That covers that. I always save little squirt bottles and stuff like this out of the kitchen because I find for situations like this, they're great. So I'll put some clots in here, fill up the line as much as I can till it's right at the top, add some clots to the main tank, and then try to fish all that together real quick without making a huge mess and spilling it everywhere and making an air bubble and all that jazz. have to have you hold it like this. I'm gonna get another rag to put on top of the tray here because I just cleaned it. Oh, you wanna ruin that good one?
It's all dirty.
Yay. Okay. So yeah, if you can hold that right there. If you think you can go over the top, that might actually be even better with the bar down here. So It's not gonna, God damn it, see? Let go, let go. Let me, yeah, hold that. Jesus Christ, great start, great start. All right, now I'll top this thing right off, I guess. Oh, this little bottle works great, huh? Imagine if it actually is.
Tabasco in there, so we're on good.
So let's eyeball this here, huh? Oh yeah, we'll be fine, right?
Yep.
Real quick, boom, on, done. Hopefully this doesn't come spraying out of here. Oh, actually, that's perfect. Oh, like a dream. All right, that's good. She's all set, I think.
I got the tank.
Yeah, let it stay tipped up like this, though. Oh, yeah. Nailed it. Beautiful. All right.
No bows.
Not at all. That's awesome. Cool. Thank you. That was perfect. So from the very beginning. Tank is on. We got the line connected. Look at that. Nice and full. Got that zip tied back up. Back together. I'm going to fire it up just to make sure it runs. I really don't expect this to sound any different at all at idle. If it does sound different at all, it's going to be mid RPM and up, you know, when it's kind of actually moving some air in there. But yeah, we'll fire it up, see if it still runs. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be fine. Probably going to take 2 bumps though. Yeah. Oh wow. If it's my muffler mod or not. There might be a little bit more at idle. You might get a little more like the intake track kind of popping away, the 2-stroke pop at idle. It might be a whisker more of that. But like I said, I don't know. It might just be my muffler mod on this thing. Similar to the Assault. Stock muffler. Stock. Yeah, cool. Still runs. Great. So I think that pretty much wraps up the velocity stack one. We'll, you know, obviously have some on the snow footage and things like that once we get snow and everything. I really can't think of much more to touch on right now. If there's anything else you guys think I should be doing to this, I've got some other small things here and there. It'll kind of be like a accessories install video, or like along with swapping out the nylock nuts and small things like that, getting it ready for the first ride. A couple other little things I'm going to be doing, but if there's any other big things you guys think I should try, please put those in the comments and let me know. I'm more than willing to try kind of anything that's out there. Yeah, that should do it.